Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Red Shirt Podcast. Today we're checking back in with Isaiah Keller from Seeds of Eden. The last time Isaiah was on the show, we talked about the vision for the first recovery home on Standing Rock. Since then, we've seen real progress. Construction is continuing, a new partnership has formed, including Two Crow Gardens, to establish the recovery garden in the recovery home, and there's a lot of momentum building. Today, we're bringing everyone up to speed on what's changed and looking ahead to the Step Out and Step Up community event in McLaughlin on August 8th. Isaiah, welcome back. Since our last update, I've noticed quite a bit of progress. There's a new partnership with Two Crow Gardens to help establish the recovery garden at the home. I've seen work being done on the recovery home itself, including some egress windows being put in. It seems like there's been a lot happening behind the scenes. For everyone listening, bring us up to speed. Tell us about the new partnership with Two Crow Gardens, the vision of the recovery garden, and some of the other major milestones Seeds of Eden has reached since our last conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jonathan. We definitely are tackling in multiple areas. We wanted to make sure that, as we continue to build the infrastructure out physically with the building and the actual home, that we're also not neglecting key strategic partnerships that can really enhance the value and just the quality of services for the community. So Two Crow Gardens has been a big support. They've really, and this is led by Larry Two Crow. She's really perfected the art of gardening, not just on a personal level or on a home level, but also commercially, and also to include. She's really gotten to the arena of food markets and really popularizing gardening, and it's key for indigenous nations and for tribal sovereignty. So she's been a huge help. She's going to continue to kind of guide us along this process and this journey. We do have a garden that's been planted. Things are growing. In spite of the heat, we're able to keep water on it, and things are looking really good. And it's really neat for me, as a non-native, learning about some of the indigenous practices with gardening and the native plants, and so we've done some pretty neat things that I think people will be excited about once we get closer to harvest time. And then along with that, yeah, we're just continuing to work on the home. We did have to put an egress window in so that we're in code and we have a safe space in the basement for additional residents. And we've got a few more things to do. We've got a hot water heater to put in, some new appliances to install, um, and then eventually getting a privacy fence up here pretty soon, and doing some decking. So a little more infrastructure that we need to do, but we just want to make sure that we do it right. And so when we're ready, that it'll be a very comfortable, very safe space for what we're going to call the Lakota Women's Recovery Home here in McLaughlin.
Right, and that essentially what you're doing with this home, you're going to be doing kind of laying a blueprint for three other homes, was it? And when do you expect to for this first home to kind of be starting to get people into it?
Yeah, so some of the partnership that we've established on a state level with the state of South Dakota was kind of mapping out, in a sense, a 3-year plan to start a new recovery home every year. In Bear Soldier, we're kind of approaching that a little more aggressively. We think that it's possible that we could probably launch the second home maybe by the turn of the year, if not shortly after 2027 comes. But this first home, I anticipate you probably got a couple more weeks left on it, so maybe middle August before we're ready to be turnkey and it's fully furnished and that type of deal. Um, so yeah, we're making progress, and we really didn't want to rush the process. And so you had mentioned the event coming up. As we're tackling kind of a lot of these areas, we just want to make sure that in this process we're communicating our vision and our intentions and our progress with the community, and so part of that is having events. We actually were able to have kind of a Q&A, kind of an introduction to our behavioral health staff. We did that with the Bear Soldier District maybe about like a week and a half ago, and that went really well. We had some great dialogue, great discussion. The Standing Rock Game and Fish Department actually donated some buffalo burger. So we had buffalo burgers, and that was really appreciated. And so, the community really appreciates us taking the time for those things. And we've got a little bit of a different event coming up on August 8th with kind of personal leadership, personal development, community leadership, an event, and so we're excited about that too. And I just think this is another way to just bring value to the community, and just connect. We know that strong relationships are really the key to anything successful happening, in Indian country. So.
Right, exactly. You have to have the community on board for it to be successful, especially if there's multiple houses, going in the area, get people involved. And the community likes being involved in this stuff, I think, is the what it comes down to. I think I don't know if it's the era we're in, but we kind of got out of community. And I think what we're doing is creating that community again in McLaughlin. And then, as well as the garden, getting gardens into the recovery setting. I'm just imagining people who are, obviously in recovery, they're coming to the home. There's a nice garden in back to start to tend to. There's programming already there. It's not just the normal model that we've all you know, learned, from throughout the years in behavioral health or wherever when it comes to recovery. Yeah, it's amazing work. And this event on the 8th is gonna pull people together even more. We're gonna be able to educate people on the garden, on Two Crow, on how other people can be doing this. Is essentially we're advertising for other people to, hey, this is possible. So let's all do it. And then, this is just community development at its core, to be honest, because we need our recovery, we need our mental health uh, to become an economic, place, for people to be living, for people to be going to school, for people to be healthy.
Something that in our society, the pendulum can swing, to different degrees, to one extreme and then to another extreme. And for whatever reason, with Western medicine and all of that has happened in the past 20 years with big pharma and all of this. People are starting to realize that a lot of that stuff was not good. It wasn't healthy um, for society, and certainly not for indigenous people, who are maybe even more sensitive to high sugar and different things like that. We know the diabetes and some of these other health factors are really through the roofs. They're off the charts. And so what we've come to realize is really on a simplistic level, that food is medicine. And I think if we get back to those basic principles, because we know it not only benefits the physical body, but everything's connected. Our mental health, our cravings, our habits, potential addictions that form from behaviors and other factors, socioeconomic factors. But yeah, I think I think it's going to be a really neat precedent that we're setting. And gardening really isn't it hasn't really been prioritized or emphasized, and we want to put it on the map. I mean, we really feel like every home should have a garden, every community should have commercial gardens, and I think it plays just beautifully into the tribal sovereignty piece.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that even you know, we think in the today's society, out here in the United States, that the garden thing is not even really thought about right now. I think the tribal nations are the ones who are going to be establishing that and then pushing it out to the rest of the world. which is kind of funny because there's that old prophecy where it said that the people would be coming back to the Red Nation for, for this knowledge. And it makes sense because we were unfortunately the last ones out of, everyone in the United States, a melting pot. We're the last ones who kind of got that knowledge stripped from us, through the boarding schools, through that stuff. So, and we were able to hold on to it. And there is people, everywhere around the world who are able to hold on to that knowledge. So, it's in humans. It's in general, like our survival instinct is to go and garden and to make food for
Right.
ourselves and stuff and go hunt, do all that stuff. But I think technology, the mass production of things, everything just being I think we're going to the era like Two Crow Gardens is doing is I see they're doing farmers markets every weekend or every other weekend. That needs to be happening in every
Yeah.
reservation community. That would be especially if everyone had a garden or if there was a system where, this week this side of town gives to the food market, this side of town gives theirs to the food market, every other week or something. I don't know how that would work, but we have the systems now and the technology to start coordinating all of our communities and
Right.
honestly just our community. We don't even need to go out beyond with this model. We don't need to go hundreds of miles away. We can do community, we can stick in our community, focus on our community, build that out, and then kind of reach our hand out to the people next to us and to the communities who think that they're in the future already. But they're
Right.
still, if the grocery store shuts down, they're gonna starve. That's the
Yep.
reality that a lot of us and we had that awakening through COVID. We had the awakening through the EBT crisis thing.
Right.
So
Yep.
now it is implementation time for gardens, for health, because even for myself, for I'm in recovery, but I've been sober for 2 years, and I do have a hard time with drinking energy drinks. The reality is, when you get into a garden, when you start eating healthy, the need for that fake energy is gone.
Right. Yep.
You get the real energy from the food, and that's really one of the bigger aspects also, beyond recovery too. It's for everybody. Everybody needs that health. So this is amazing work. On August 8th, I don't know if the house will be available to, do a tour or if, someone give a tour of the garden, the outside.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would,
We'll have it available.
yeah, because it's,
Which that'll be really neat. I think that we haven't really done a formal open house, and we'll probably do that when it's near completion. But we'll definitely be able to open it up on that day, and people that are around can come and take a look at what we've got so far. And I think it'll inspire just a lot of hope, and you know, there are solutions out there, and I know some of what I've experienced in just community feedback and interaction. And it's just part of the trauma response. It's part of what we've seen in history is sometimes when things have been, very difficult, to put it lightly, for a long time, it's difficult to see outside of that and to see good things happening, and to have the hope that our relatives can get well, that they can become healed and that they can recover. So I think when people see it with their own eyes, the proof's in the pudding, and that's gonna be really impactful. So
and I'm hoping at this August 8th step up or step out, step up event that will be able to reach out to a lot of people in the community as well, depending on how many people show up, because they can get the word out as well, and
right.
because in reality, the community knows each other more than we even can imagine, right?
Hmm.
The word gets out of, the bad stuff, word gets out of the good stuff too. So I
Right.
think because of how much bad stuff, how much trauma there needs to be a lot of wins, there needs to be a lot of good, and it needs to travel through the community and it needs to be consistent. And that's what Seeds of Eden and Bear Soldier District have been doing, is just creating that space. And then with this event, it brings in, kind of more trust, more community. Um, you know, in reality, we're sharing resources to create an event so that we don't have to do like the old model where it's take the community's money for the community to attend something. So that's I kind
Yep.
of that's a new model too that we're working on, and through all this process, we're able to track what we're doing as well. Your organization, my organization, and we're able to show other organizations down the line. You and I might be teaching people one day, like, how to start, get their nonprofit, working for the community.
Right.
Right. And I'm not saying not all nonprofits aren't, doing that already. I'm just the money, the grant system, it kind of created that space where it was like you're paying for the back end and there isn't really much for the community. And it's like
Right.
that has to change somehow. So, and someone's got to do it. So I guess it's going to be Seeds of Eden, Bear Soldier District, Next Level Collaborations, Western Hemisphere Indigenous Network, Two Crow.
Yeah.
It's
So for anyone that's listening, it's going to be an event. One of the things that we really wanted to include was our youth, and Jonathan and I might be playing ball too, but we want to get the young people plugged in, and so I've reached out to some pretty key pillars in the community, and they're excited to share this with the youth so that they can sign up for 3-on-3 basketball. So we'll be having that going on and managing that. And then a pretty well-known nonprofit, Woju, is going to be helping out. They're happy to help with archery, with kids or adults, whoever wants to do that. So they just need a backdrop, maybe some plywood, and we'll get that for them so that they can do their thing. And they do some amazing work, and they've really set a standard. If I could speak well of them, just a very high standard for value and bringing community, and they do this more so on the North Dakota side, but
yeah,
this would be a great introduction on the South Dakota side as well. And they've done a lot of work on both sides, obviously in both states, but this will be just a great intro for Beer Soldier. And I know Bobby's really excited. We're excited about it, so we're just happy to include them. And then we have a professional personal development coach and speaker, Ryan Botner with Cornerstone Coaching and Speaking. He's really scaled his business on a national platform, and it'll be a huge win to have him with us. And he's in recovery as well. Does a great job on a one-on-one scale, and also on a corporate scale where he can speak to an audience, get everybody involved. He does a lot of really neat things on sales and marketing and business development. So I think there'll be some interest just with people being exposed to just something different, something maybe they've never heard before or been exposed to. But for me, some of this. Some of these services and this professionalism, it isn't just for the rich or the well-known or the established. I mean, we should really make all of these services and all of these opportunities available for everybody. So I'm really excited for that to kind of take root in the community, because I'm noticing that a lot of young people really have a desire to help, really have a desire to lead, and they just need to be taught. They need to be coached, and so these types of events can really change a community. Um, so we want to have these often. I mean, my vision is to have a meaningful event every month, if not more often, depending on how organized we can get and the resources that we have available. But yeah, really excited. And then of course, Laurie Tucro will be speaking, and whatever she decides to speak on, it'll be great. She's running for chairwoman of the MHA Nation. So we're very fortunate to have her just plugged in, in what we're doing locally. So
right. Yeah, I remember when we were dealing with the garden, we were testing the soil. We were going to do our best. We were going to add some some certain things to make this, but she came in and saved us. So
yeah,
I was a little worried there, but
yeah,
but that's
yeah,
that's the thing about partnerships is our organizations aren't always going to be able to do everything.
right.
So it's like, why not bring someone in who's
Bring the
mastered it and
specialists in.
part, yeah, it's
Yes.
like, why not
Yep.
do that? And I
Yep.
think that's where, we all have our spot. And that's what I think the model that we're kind of trying to create for other people to see, even tribal nations, and bigger all around. This model could be used for everyone because every business, every corporation, they don't know everything. They don't have everything. They don't have experts. So it's honestly,
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if we start a domino effect for even like Walmarts and Targets to start partnering or something like that. Where,
yeah, yeah.
but no, we'll see. We don't really want them to get that idea, but but no, this is going to be an amazing event. I think connecting the fun event with the learning event is a necessity, especially for the youth. The youth obviously want to have fun. The adults, they want to eat and they want to learn. The youth want
Yeah,
to have fun and learn. So I think that's something that Wozhu does. I see their calendar. They have
yeah,
stuff going on every week. So that's where these partnerships are amazing, is because these collaborations, because they can give you ideas, Seeds of Eden ideas. They can give me ideas, and then we can maybe, once we get there, have each other go into each other's events, as like a
yeah.
bigger event every year.
Well, and that was one of the things, when we came in, and I say when we came in, we've been in the area for going on over 3 years. But one of the things that we really wanted to be mindful of is we didn't want to replace any services or any, current activities or cultural, services in the area. We only wanted to enhance, and we just wanted to plug in wherever we could. So what we're realizing is there's a lot of organizations, a lot of great things happening right in our communities, and maybe it's happening in Fort Yates. Well, could they bring that just a few miles south? And a lot of these organizations are willing to do that. Whether it's clinical, whether it's community based, whether it's just an activity. Not everything has to be in a particular category. But all of that is really at our fingertips, and it's almost as if we don't really have to create any particular program, and we're going to do our best to do what we do best, with helping rehabilitate people. But all of the cultural access is already in the communities. A lot of the activities, whether it's for elders, youth, adults, and so collaborating is so powerful, because it brings just enhanced value to the people that are already there doing the work. And in a sense, all that we're bringing is more clients, more people, to the table to get the help, to get the support, and to be served. And if we can help be the glue somehow, if there's a role that we can play, being the glue and just connecting people, we're happy to do that. So yeah, we're very thankful. People have been very welcoming, very open, to helping us out and supporting. And so, honestly, I really wouldn't want it, to develop any other way than just naturally, and that takes time. You can't rush, building a relationship. You can't rush, the process. So
It's true.
um, so that's kind of where we're at. And then I just wanted to mention something else that, is very important and has just recently started over the past week. We realized that, in conjunction with the recovery home launching, we also wanted to provide, crisis intervention services. Crisis intervention is, maybe a little bit of a new term for people, but it's really, people do it, without even knowing it. And we're bringing a professional, kind of a stamp, and definition to that. But basically, meeting people where they're at and assessing, them to figure out what need to be addressed, most urgently. When people are in addiction, especially chronic and severe addiction, there's a critical moment of time, that we have to get them help, and it looks a little bit different for every individual. So in this past week, we've had 5 people, signed up for our services, In fact, I'm just actually on my way back from Keystone, which is a treatment center just right outside of Sioux Falls, and I was able to transport an individual to get into inpatient and connected with them, establishing a partnership with them where they gave me kind of the resources that I need to expedite funding on a state level to provide inpatient treatment for this person, which is really huge. And I mean, even though it's a little bit of a drive, being able to get someone into treatment that fast, I mean, this happened just over the weekend, it is really it's extremely important. And so developing this relationship, it seems like they would like to prioritize Standing Rock and being able to stretch, their arms out a little bit further. And then they also help with some transportation as well. So when they finish, we can kind of do a soft handoff where we can connect them to local resources, and eventually we'll have the women's home, eventually a men's home. But we're talking about, a very critical a service, which, in light of, the deaths that we've experienced in the past, week and a half, 2 weeks, a lot of overdoses, a lot of death by cirrhosis of the liver, which we know, of course, is caused from drinking. Um, this is going to be a very powerful thing, and it's just the beginning. Like I said, the first week of outreach, and then the one day we had a full day to connect in the communities of McLaughlin and Little Eagle. And there's 5 people that were ready, just ready for treatment, and it just really opened up my eyes, because a lot of times people think that, well, people just they don't want help. Well, some don't, but honestly, most people do, and they just don't know how to navigate it. They don't know where to start. It is overwhelming. Um, and when they're struggling with substance abuse, it's difficult for them to plan and to strategize and to coordinate. And that's where we come in to help with that process. So, yeah, I'm a firm believer that most people will do well if they can
Yeah.
do well. So,
Yeah, if it's the solution is there, people are, already lined up a lot of the times.
right.
Unfortunately, with the system, the way it's been, mental health care, people think it's more of a hassle to go and get involved in that because their insurance or not having insurance, having to pay cash up front. As far as my experience with treatment, I was able to get into treatment, but only because I had family members who were able to give a down payment, and that was the
Wow.
only way, and it was like $7,000.
Wow.
So it was like, uh, if I didn't have that, would have been, doing the old way where it's like, get your insurance, do that. There's people who need, there's that crisis, the addiction's getting too much, and the next day they need to be in treatment. Otherwise, they
Yeah.
will, unfortunately, will pass away or
Right.
will be in the hospital, passing away. So, that's amazing to hear, actually. Kind of brings tears to my eyes and happiness to think of somebody being able to just get that process.
It's the beginning. Like I said, we've had just some great interactions with clients now, but potential clients that, honestly, just a conversation. And some of them have been to treatment in the past. It's been years for some, but what's happening is people are realizing that they need help, and a lot of times they look around and there's no one there.
Right.
And so, it takes a unique personality to be that independent, to take it upon yourself. But a lot of people, they just need to be led, and so we're just there to help lead and
And the
walk
people,
beside them in a very, kind of a peer-to-peer
yes,
type
yeah.
of level. And it really breaks down the barriers where, a clinician, sometimes they can get, a little bit, and they have a different role. So, it's they have their job, and they do a good job. Yeah, but we're here to kind of bridge the gap, so to speak, and it's extremely effective. So,
Yeah, there is that mental that stop that people have when they go into treatment because it is, going away from home. It is going into a setting where you can't leave. A lot of the times, I know
yeah,
people can, but you don't want to leave, right?
right,
So it's like you have to stay there. It is scary. It's scary. A lot of people are
right,
scared, but when they see people like us, who've gone through it, like my brother was somebody who had gone through it. He's been sober for like 8 years now, and it's like so his story of like, hey, I went through this, I went through this, I went through treatment for 90 days, and then after that, it's like 8 years of sobriety. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
so something went right, and that just those stories, and I'm hoping that the treatment centers have people coming in with those stories too,
Mhm.
because those stories help keep your mind in the game, keep you trusting the process. A lot of people think that sobriety happens overnight. It happens sometimes over like 8 years, right? So
Yep.
it's like
Yep.
it's something you have to keep on working on, and then that's where the eating well, being healthy, that's where all those programs come in on the tribe side, so that when people are recovering, are sober, they can
Yep.
step into these programs that keep them sober, that keep them involved in the community, and that's what's being created here. So amazing work, Isaiah. I thank you again for joining us and sharing these updates. It's exciting to see the progress that has been made since our last conversation. I know there's probably a lot more, but we're going to keep doing these updates. Uh, Now we should be doing them every month at least, or
Yeah.
two
No, I'd
weeks.
be happy to anytime. I'll make myself available. I know that this communications and PR piece is really extremely important, and we want the positive message to get out to the public, so that everyone can really understand what's going on and how they might be able to help.
And to everyone listening, we hope you'll join us on August 8th in McLaughlin, South Dakota for the Step Out and Step Up event, a day dedicated to leadership, personal development, wellness, culture, and community collaboration. We'd like to thank Seeds of Eden, Bear Soldier District, Two Crow Gardens, Woju, Western Hemisphere Indigenous Network, Next Level Collaborations, Cornerstone Speaking and Coaching, Kimco, and Board Shaper for coming together to make this event possible. Until next time, I'm Jonathan Mazakuta, and this has been the Red Shirt Podcast.